Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and along with me, as always, is the nifty, nimble Nancy, Bethany McChesney. And this episode is brought to you by Duonamic, door framey pull-up thingies. Um, and you know what? We've never done this because we talked about it before or whatever. You have like Spartan codes, discount code. You never say anything on here.
Yeah, I do have a Spartan code. I don't know it because it's always a really long, complicated number. Um,
I tell you what,
well, even if I say it verbally, no one's going to remember. So we'll have to put it in the
if you actually
file.
send to me, I will post it with the thing.
Yes.
I
So
will.
I do have a 20% off code if anyone's interested. So it works for Spartan, it works for Tough Mudder, and it works for DEKAfit in
Yes,
North America. I did have someone try to use it in Italy and it does not work. So just North American races.
in Italy.
My following is vast, Dave.
Vast. Yes, yes. Very vast. I like that. Italy. That's pretty good.
Mhm.
And just in case, most people probably realize why it doesn't work for local deck events like Strongs and Mild Two, but just in case you don't get it, it's because those events, the money goes to the gyms, right? It's not
Mhm.
Spartan, right? So yeah, don't use it for those. Don't even try to because the gyms need the money anyway. So just pay the full crack
Yeah. Yeah.
or volunteer for Christ's sake.
Yes. Mhm.
Do you need volunteers for your event? Are you good? Are you good for volunteers?
Um, yes, we're probably, well, I don't know for sure yet. We're still a little bit away, but
All right. We'll let you know.
mhm.
Um, so first thing, I was gonna give you the chance to be a mom and brag about Emerson's hockey
Mhm.
because it is a
Yeah,
job.
it's really interesting because this was the first time I've actually gone to a hockey tournament away, which is weird because I grew up in this world. Um, but my son is coached by my ex-husband, so he always goes to his tournaments. But Emerson, this is our first year playing like a competitive hockey team. So we had an away tournament and it was so much fun. So her team wins never. And so they so they have just really had to focus on team spirit and everything else. So it's a really nice group of kids who just they love the sport and they love the game. They're really close. They have really good camaraderie. But yeah, we had a really good time. And for all the Canadian listeners, we know hockey is a really big deal in Canada. And sometimes hockey parents can get a little bit wild and crazy and a little bit too serious. But we had none of that this weekend. So it was a really feel good weekend. Um, yeah, we played. And for my daughter's team who's never won a game, and I don't mean just they've had close games but never happened to win. I mean, most of their scores are like 10-0, 8-0. Like, so we tied our first game, and for
Bam.
these girls, it might as well have been a win. So yeah,
That's
it was awesome for them.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember when my daughter played. I remember one game, and when you talk about the parent thing, one of her teammates was a family who had just moved over from England,
Mhm,
and so they put their daughter into hockey because that's the Canadian thing to do,
mhm.
and they had told her um, they would they would give her $50 to score a goal because she hadn't scored a goal all season. And then she scored two that game.
Oh
And they give her
no.
$100.
So
Because
my daughter plays defense, so we don't have, I just say, just if you let no pucks by you.
uh,
Uh-huh.
is monetary rewards for sport athletics in children a wise
Mhm.
idea?
So I don't usually do that, but she really wanted this hoodie. So I said in the final game, if you let no pucks by you, I will buy this hoodie for you. But I don't normally do that. And of course, she had like the game of her life. So the hoodie was bought.
So it is a good idea. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And she won like an MVP, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. I wanted to give you time to be proud mom, because that's
Yeah.
important stuff. It's good. And I loved those traveling tournaments too. Like even when I was even not hockey, just traveling around with my boy when I was taking him to ninja comps. I mean, it's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of it's the parts of sport when kids are growing up that they really remember. You really don't remember the wins and the losses, but the away tournaments and the fun you had at the hotel and, playing in the pool for 3 hours, like that kind of stuff is what you really remember. So yeah, it's part of the team sport thing. And I'm such a proponent of kids being in team sports as long as they can before they shift into sports that are more discipline based and individualistic. So there's just so many valuable lessons to learn from it. So
Do you think this is carryover? And this is why we always have such a good time when we go to races, when it's like a whole bunch of us at an Airbnb or camping or doing some stuff at a hotel. I think it's the same logic. We're just really old children.
absolutely. Well, I remember when I graduated university, and so I was on a so cross country and track, although it's an individual sport, it really is a team sport. And when I graduated, the thing that I missed the most was having a team. And because it just felt so lonely. So OCR, and because the community is all kind of like that too, um, where everyone kind of is there for each other and, encouraging other, cheering each other on. It was that thing that I miss, like the camaraderie amongst people all, doing the same thing together. So yeah, it definitely is.
Well, I mean, as much as we've gone on about Dallas, about having a great time at Worlds and in the competition and stuff, some of the best times is like walking home from the Texas barbecue, walking back to the Airbnb and yeah, hanging out in the Airbnb and stuff like that, and all
Mhm.
the dinners and whatnot. So yeah, I think it is. I think it's the same thing. We never grow out of it. That team atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like the relay stuff so much. Is I just love the team thing. It's just I don't know,
Yeah.
makes you more than you. All right, where do you want to start? What do you want to go with?
Well,
Or do you want me to pick one?
you pick.
All right, we'll do this one because this one's pretty quick. It's a little weird. So OCRWC
Hmm.
is offering a free race, either a 3K or a 100 meter, to anyone who has previously raced at OCRWC, which is a really cool offer. I mean, that's great, especially for someone like me who would only race the 3K 100 meter. That'd be fantastic. But the problem I have with it is they did it after already taking like early bird registrations. And the people who did early bird registrations are the ones who are really, really committed
Keen.
and loyal
Hmm.
and great fans. And they probably sign up for everything. So it's like could be a bit of a kick in the teeth. And I'm not sure if they're offering those people anything like a buyout or another race or a code or what. I don't know, but it's a little
So,
weird.
sorry, they're offering a free race to anybody who's raced it before,
Yes. So if you were to register for, you could register for the 100 meter or the 3K for free.
but I've never raced the 100
No,
meter.
it didn't matter. Just if you've gone to OCRWC.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's a great offer, but I'm like, kind of, if I had registered earlier bird, I would feel a little bit shafted.
So are they willing to offer like
I don't know.
refunds for people that already registered?
I don't know. I'm still kind of waiting for an answer on that. So we'll wait and see. So maybe they will, maybe they won't. And honestly, I don't mean to rag on it because it is a very generous offer. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Um, if you were planning to go, that's great. And I do know quite a few people planning to go. I haven't seen it's I don't think it's in Mammoth. It is in California, but I don't think it's in Mammoth.
Well, yeah, they haven't announced the location yet.
Yeah, not exactly, but I'm thinking they're saying it's not in Mammoth because they were describing like a different venue. So maybe it's going to be somewhere a little more accessible, which would be really nice for the people going.
Hmm.
I do not believe I will be going again this year. Still California is still pretty difficult and expensive, and I actually, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we may have schedule conflict. That's By the way, sorry we didn't get an episode out right on time last week. It was because we did record an episode, but we can't release it yet. And I will
Hmm.
leave you to draw your own conclusions as to why, and maybe you'll be right. Um, yeah, so anyway, I don't know, you say good for Spartan for offering this. I do hope that the courses are a little more obstacle dense, especially for the 3K. Because that
Hmm.
was one of the complaints I heard about last year. And last year, the one that we did hear that the venue was awesome, but just getting there and getting out was travel was a bitch.
Hmm.
So hopefully they have even more successful event because OCRWC is just the greatest. And then hopefully they have a great event and then bring it back to the Northeast for 2025.
Yes.
2025 is a big year for me. I'm all about 2025.
Is this the year you turned 50?
Yes. 2024 is this year. This is my warm up for next year.
Mm.
Practicing,
Hmm.
getting ready all across the board. Okay, so that's for OCRWC. OCRWC. US Marathon Trials.
Yeah, so for all my running and track fans,
I'll see you in
this
a bit.
past weekend was a yeah, you take a little break. This weekend was the US Olympic trials. So it's so different in Canada how we our athletes qualify for the Olympics and the marathon, but in the States it's just so simple and straightforward. You run the qualifying time. In the marathon, there's also a time that you could run in the half marathon and qualify for the Olympic trials. The Olympic trials is run and the top three qualify. Super straightforward. The fourth person is the alternate. Um, it's interesting though because you can actually qualify for the Olympic trials with a half marathon time, provided so then, but if you come top three, you have to run the Olympic standard and the A standard um, in the trials if you're going to make the team. So this year was just, it was such an interesting year. It was probably one of the deepest, most talented field of women that they've had in all time. And there were some like 350 women that were on the start line, which is so good to see also for women's distance running. And really, the women's race was the talk of the town in the US. So interesting though. Well, first of all, the woman who won, it was her debut marathon. So she qualified with a half marathon time. And her first marathon she won, and she set an Olympic trials record, and she was the youngest female to ever win the Olympic trials. She was 25 years old. I'm blanking on her name. O'Keefe is her last name. And then but the story that I had sent to you that was really cool, I thought was our fourth, I shouldn't say our because we're not American, but the fourth place female, Jessica McLean, is actually so she ran a huge PB, not really in the discussions when it came to women that could potentially be making the team. She ran a 4 minute personal best, but she's unsponsored. She works a full-time job. She doesn't even have a coach. She doesn't, I wouldn't say she trains on her own, but she does, she's an athlete out of Arizona. So she's unattached, so which means she's not really part of a club, which that's kind of the big story around it because most athletes that are competing and racing at this level, they have their big sponsor and they're connected to a coach, and she's just kind of flying under the radar. And the interesting thing too is now everyone's, oh, find her a sponsor, get this girl a sponsor. But when she was in her interview after the race, they said, are you open to a sponsorship now? And she was like, maybe, only if they're willing to do it on my own terms. So there, and it kind of shines a little bit of light on the fact that being sponsored isn't necessarily always what it's cracked up to be. So she works a job. She actually, from what I saw, it's a not for profit. So she works a passion job. So she's one of these people, and this is the kind of people that I really admire too, where her whole life is not this sport, but she can still do really well in it. So she has her job that obviously is something that she's passionate about. And sometimes when you have that sponsorship, they can really hold your life in your hands per se, where like you're really bound by what you wear. You have stipulations about when you race, how often you race, the times you have to perform by. So there's a lot of pressure when it comes to signing contracts. And I mean, typically we're talking about running shoe companies with the big contracts for athletes. And she just said, maybe I'd be interested, but but I want someone who's creative about the terms and who's open to have a discussion. So it's so unique, especially in the running world. But I think it's so good for people to see because I think as our hybrid scene grows, we see more and more people who seem to feel also like if you're not doing this full time, you can't really compete with the best. And it's always good to show people who can still manage a training schedule around other aspects of life, a job, she has a partner, she has other passions, and having a sponsor isn't necessarily the be all and end all of being an athlete.
Well, a couple of things. One, we will gladly sponsor her provided all the cost is like a free hoodie, and that's what we're good for. We'll do that.
Yeah.
They're lovely hoodies, by the way. Um, but I'm going to ship it to somewhere in Canada. You can drive over and pick it up because crossing the border is too expensive. Um, but it does raise that question when you say all that, right? And you say all that she has a full-time job and all this stuff, and I mean, like you say, it's hard to play down and things like killer athlete, works for a nonprofit, all that stuff. I mean, like, it's just kind of perfect. But it raises the, tree fall in the forest question, almost like, yes, she is amazing and has all this other stuff, but would she be even better if she was able to focus full time on it? And it's not a question you'll ever really be able to answer.
Mhm.
That's always the what if, right? But it's that's what people I think people would say that like, oh, and I mean, we said it about Rylan and Chris Rogowski all the time. Like, yeah, they're great, but what if they focused
Focus.
on one
Yeah.
thing? And would it make
Well,
them better or
I
wouldn't
think
it?
this comes down so much to personality too, because so you're a full-time, let's hypothetically, you're a full-time athlete, you have a sponsor, and your sponsor has X, Y, and Z stipulations that you have to perform, otherwise your pay gets cut in half. So now performance in your sport is directly linked to how much money you make. So it's not, in some ways, you can lose the love of the game that you play. And then even the pressure for your performance is so much greater because now it comes down to, can I pay my bills? I have to run this fast or perform this well in order to just pay my bills. Especially because if you've probably walked away from a job, like a real, job. And so for some people, and she did say in her post race interview, I don't do it for that. So to just be able to maintain the love of it can also, and some people do still, I'm not saying that when you're sponsored, you don't still, love the sport, but for some people, it changes the game for them. So for some people, and then your whole day is focused on training, recovery, how you feel, your body, fixing your body, all these. So um, it's so focus on self instead of having, and some people still do, who are sponsored athletes have, ways that they give back and they do community events and stuff, so it's not entirely me centric, but sometimes people need that balance where they have a part of their day where it's shut off from their sport and they get to focus on another aspect of life, and they get to use their mind in another way that doesn't have to do with how's my body feeling, what does it need, and just so focus on the self. So it totally depends on the person. Some people need a distraction, some people can thrive fully focusing on it. So it comes down to how you feel the best, I think.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you think about Atkins and Lindsay, they're training different. They're always doing biking. They're always doing this. They're always doing that. Would they be as good at OCR if they didn't do that? If they just focused the one way? Your first logic says yes, they'd be even better, but would they? I don't know. I don't know. It's
Mm.
it's tough to say. It's when people have the results, it's hard to argue that something would be better. Um, by the way, side tangent. You talk about focusing on recovery and everything. Um, I'm saddened and offended that you do not recognize and acknowledge my chilly plunge, slightly not warm plunge.
What did you post about it or just?
Oh hell no, 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 no.
Oh,
We told you, and there was no
yeah,
reaction. I demand acknowledgement that I did a slightly less warm plunge
in your bathtub.
in my bathtub. Yeah,
Yes,
in
it's a step. It's good.
coolish water, in coolish water. And you know what? Didn't do fuck all for me. Really hate it. It really didn't hit me at all. Man, I'm
How
not
long
getting
did you stay in this coolish water?
6 minutes.
Okay, so it's probably not that cold.
What was the temperature, bro? 52. So it's like 52.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just cold. It's just coolish. No, well, I read online that actually that's what you're supposed to do.
What's that?
Like that was the temperature you should start at kind of thing.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, there's still benefits to not being, so I don't know the Fahrenheit temperatures, but so 10 degrees and less.
yeah, and
So
that's where it is. 10 degrees. Yeah, yeah, right
okay.
around.
Yeah, so you just stay in a little bit longer when
Yeah.
it's yeah. So our tubs outside right now are 0 to 2.
Mm.
So 3 minutes is fine, but the warmer it is, you just stay in a little bit longer. And there's still benefits to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I was in there for 6 minutes and I thought, yeah,
You
I'm gonna
can't
go
always
back in.
feel the
Listen.
physiological benefits.
I tried something once. It wasn't instantly gratifying. I move on. We'll see. I'll
You're
probably
not
try it
gonna
again.
you're not gonna give it like a 10-day challenge or something. Actually, so just
No.
I'll just give a little bit of information here though. Optimally though, 11 minutes a week is what has been recommended. So I usually tell my clients to go in 4 times a week for 3 minutes. And then you get your 12 minutes a week. It's not something you have to do every day.
No. And I'm not one for many of the like I don't even when workout stuff like I don't like the do it every day challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not a super fan of that. I get it can create a good habit and I'm all for that, but it can also be a road to injury and stuff. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
cold plunging as much. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
there's a diminishing return or a detriment to doing it too much.
Hmm.
Um, I do see, and I have friends wearing the socks and the gloves when they're going in to protect their extremities.
Oh, the neoprenes.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I thought you were gatekeeping cold plunging. Just horrible person. Cold plunge gatekeeper. I just couldn't find an alliteration to work there. I just anyway, it was interesting, and like I said, I will probably try again, but we'll
Mhm.
see. I prefer my Airrelax watching TV and having a frosty athletic brew. Oh, hi.
I think though you have to real the real benefits, I think though for the cold plunge isn't necessarily about the recovery. It's more about the autonomic nervous system and its response, creating a parasympathetic response on the nervous system.
Well, as much as it didn't hit home with me, it has hit home with Rye.
Hmm.
She's getting on the bandwagon, or so it would seem.
Yeah. So if you're someone who lives in a bit more of a like chronic sympathetic state, so you're in more of like a fight or flight, whether high anxiety or you work a high stress job, the cold, and you remember you have to stay in past that 45-second mark, really does help your nervous system and bringing it down to a state of calm. So what it does is you're in a high stress, safe situation. So you're in a cold tub, you are safe, it's very controlled, and it teaches your body to be in a state of calm in a uncomfortable situation. So the effects on the nervous system are what I would say is the most profound thing that people find.
Maybe that's why it didn't hit home with me because I'm always just
You're just so
freaking
chill.
mellow all the time. I don't care what the hell's going on. House is burning. I'm like, yeah, it's warm. Feels good.
Yeah, that is you
I'm
actually.
like, whatever, man.
Yeah, there's no fight or flight in
There's
you.
no fight or flight. There's
Just
high
chill.
stressor, relax.
Yeah.
I do swing from ropes for my job now.
Mm. Mhm. But you're happy there, so.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know what actually the biggest problem I have with stuff like that and safety stuff at work? I have an unnatural high trust level in safety equipment.
I do
Probably to
not.
probably to a fault. I'm like, oh, I'm hooked up. I'm fine. That's why, like, if I ever went to like CN Tower and did that walk around the outside, it's just a waste of money for me. I'm like, oh, I'm hooked up. What can possibly go wrong?
Oh. Whereas I'm like, if something's gonna go wrong, it's gonna happen to me.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, see, that even makes me more safe.
Right. When you're with me, it's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
happen to
exactly.
me.
All right. There was a Hyrox in and yeah, we're switching topics here for a sec. It
Mhm.
was in, what was it, Turin? Um,
Yeah.
Results for the men, we had Eugenio Bianchio, Thomas Fry, Alfonso Durio. That was your top three for the men, with times of about all in the 103s. And actually, one thing that looked really good, although they're not what you would call incredible times, and it probably wasn't the fastest course, um, good race to the finish, 103.2, 103.8. So 6 seconds,
Wow.
6 seconds, 6 seconds off, which is a fantastic finish. And I actually wouldn't that have been cool if Hyrox had have, streamed it?
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Hmm.
And then for the women, we had just double checking here. Uh, yeah, again, not what you would call stellar times, 113, 114, 119.
Hmm.
Danielle Crew, Sally Morgan, and Vedette Graholi. Sounds good to me. That's a possibility that that is correct. Um, so not stellar time. So you and I were kind of talking about before. Is cherry picking races okay? Is that an okay thing to do? Because this was a stellar one to cherry pick, right? Right before.
Yeah, the weekend before a major. Yeah. I mean, realistically, I don't think that many people actually do this because there's a significant amount of travel involved. Like I don't see a lot of North American flags on that podium. But yeah, I mean, if you were more local to these races and you had to pick Vienna or this one, you're like, and you're kind of in that range of like, I could podium if Meg's not there and a couple of the others. And it's like, yeah, maybe I'll go to this one because I know she's going to the next one.
You might be surprised to hear this because I have some staunch views on a lot of things and a lot of like very sportsmanship thing, like the don't use the straps on obstacles, and if you qualify elite, run elite, and all that stuff. I think cherry pick is cool. Go for it. Well, what? You're showing up to race. You can race who's there,
Hmm.
and if you're that good, you're only improving the quality of that race.
Yeah.
So I say cherry pick away. Do what you like. Go ahead. You
Hmm.
want to win Spartan Sundays? Do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? I don't see anything wrong with it. If it's a competitive race, you do it. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Hmm.
Cherry pickers, ho, go forward, forward and pluck them. Absolutely, I think it's cool. But yeah, some not fast times, but we are, like you say, coming up on to the what do they call it? The is it the European Championship, the European Open, European Major, right?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So we have a list of entries, and we want the women or the men first.
Go for the women.
All right. We'll start from one down, or you want to start from 15 up?
15 up.
Okay. Jezebel Kramer.
Hmm.
She'll be there. Chris Rogolowski, who we were actually worried about because it was our understanding that Chris had already bought tickets and entry to this race and like flights and whatnot, made arrangements, and then was on the edge of getting bumped out from some of those fast
Hmm.
recent races, which again says the system sucks ass. And it always will until they fix it. So yeah, Chris Rogowski, Kate Davey, Viola Oberlander, which to think Viola Oberlander down there
I know.
is just and I still don't really accept it. I still expect her to be a podium threat. And
Hmm.
maybe I'm naive and living in the past, but yeah, I don't know. Jennifer Nikolos, Zara Piragani,
Yeah.
Alina Wilnow, Lauren Griffiths, Miriam Von Rohr, Camilla Massa, Vivian Tafuto, Michaela Norman, Linda Meyer, Lauren Weeks, Meg Jacoby. That list of women tells me one thing. I don't see anyone coming out of this qualifying for World Championship that's not already qualified for World Championships, except for possibly Vivian.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to ask you on this how this worked. Um, so there's 5 women there with the that have already qualified, right?
Yeah, so I'll read to you the women that have already qualified for World Championship qualifiers. Meg Jacoby, Michaela Norman, Lauren Weeks, Rebecca Mason, Linda Meyer. So four that are going to that race have already qualified for Worlds.
Yeah, so top three, and then but if some of those have the big Q already, it will drop down, but only drop down to 5.
which I don't
So
understand. Why wouldn't
I
they
don't
do
understand that
six?
either.
Why not
Yeah.
go to six? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So if we have, and I mean, just if you're a gambler, so we have Meg and Lauren, and then
Mhm.
we have another podium spot.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so then if it's one of those other girls, like we're not really giving it a whole lot of opportunity for Camila and Vivian and Lauren Griffith and Miriam, who's been there before too, to really get in that mix. And, Viola and like all those girls are right there too. So we're just creating such a interesting situation where those
it is.
qualifiers are just,
It is, but I just think it would be so much better if it was top three women not qualified will qualify for Worlds.
I agree.
It would be, I think it would add to it because, yeah, I think it would mean more. Anyway,
Yeah.
so those are your women. That's a great field. That's going to be
So
an
this
awesome
is
race.
Miriam hasn't raced in a while.
And she hasn't had the best races as of late.
Yeah, I think she's been battling with some injuries.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, if she's battling with injuries that hamper her running at all, that really hurts her because her running
Yeah.
was, she would make up for her running, and it's so I don't know.
And
Miriam,
we have a couple girls on that list too who we've been seeing some steady improvements, like Chris Rogloski, Lauren Griffith. So,
Camilla Massa, like
mhm,
Lauren Griffiths especially, she's been just boom, boom, keep working her way up, right? And
yeah,
she would be one, and of course, like we say, Vivian Tafudo, but we haven't seen Vivian for a while because she got sick and whatnot, and so hopefully she's back to 100%. She's gonna go in and smash it. Um, so yeah, it'll be a great race. Any one of those women could jump up there, right? Like
mhm, yeah,
anyone could. So I mean, I guess that creates for excitement, but I would like to see three more of these women qualify for Worlds and not possibly one.
right, agreed.
Possibly one, possibly, could it possibly be none? No, one woman will at least qualify.
Y yes,
Yeah, because
yes,
four of them have qualified. So one
yeah.
woman will at least
So, yeah, we could be looking at just one spot.
lose one spot. Yeah. All right. For our men, uh, Graham Holiday, Jonathan Wynn, Lucas Storath. So Lucas Storath back in the mix, which is good to see. Joffrey Voisin, Thomas Verdick, Tim Weisnick, James Kelly, Rich Ryan, Paleo Mendez, David Magida, Tobias Lotvine, Michael Sandbach, Bo Willis, Ryan Kent, and Alexander Ronkovic. And again, four of these men have qualified.
Four.
Four, yep. Alex Ronkovic, Ryan Kent, Bo Willis, and Michael Sandbach have all qualified for Worlds. So um, again, not quite like the women's. Whereas the women's, like you see, to think, I mean, you pretty much you're going to pencil in Megan Lauren in the first two spots. This one's a little bit different, right? Because yes, well, you would say, especially Kent and Ronkovic would probably be your favorites. We've seen that they can drop back. They can,
Yeah,
it can happen. So the door could be a little what, even though it might on paper look like there might only be one spot open. I think the door is a lot more open for the men.
yeah, yeah. The men's race definitely has a bit more variance on the top of the podium. And again, we have Tobias here who hasn't raced in a while, so this is his
I
a
think
bit
he
of a
did race a
comeback.
little bit, but he didn't have his best race a little while ago. He had a bit of a rough one.
Mm,
So yeah, yeah, but he's always dangerous. He's a guy who seems to really know the game.
yeah, he's been in it since they had that 12 during COVID.
Yes, yes, yes. And they made the big deal about him taking in booze on the run
Eating.
and eating through the middle and not looking the part like everybody else.
Hmm.
But yeah, but he's always there. He's
Yeah.
definitely you can't judge a book by its cover guy.
Hmm.
And Paleo Mendez, see another guy who's just constantly improving and getting there. The thing about him is he's got the running. So if he just gets his stations a little bit better, he can become dangerous. He's got a lot of potential. Um, I like seeing Lucas Storath back in it because that's a guy who was, day one.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the first world champ for men? I think he was.
Oh, I actually don't know that.
I think he was. I think he was the first world champ for men. Either that or I might have the name on, but I'm pretty sure it was him. All right. So good to see him back in the mix. So that'll be a great race. That's next weekend. So and that one they will stream.
Mm.
And if it's anything like the last one, it was a great stream. So it'd be awesome to watch. So check that out. Um, one more Hyrox thing. Christy Yermo. Ermo?
Ramo.
Ramo?
Hmm.
CrossFit Christy
Yes. Who we have
O'Connell,
seen in Spartan games.
who got ignored in Spartan games.
Yes.
She really deserved more airtime. I mean, you get some athlete of that caliber there, give her some bloody airtime.
Yeah.
Is set to do two high rocks. I think the first one's going to be in Houston. And I'm just going to put it out there to you. Prediction. Give me a time window. What do you think she's going to get?
Yeah. I mean, she's one girl from the CrossFit world who I've always wished she would jump into the Hyrox world. So she has a 3:04 marathon time, which is very good.
Hmm.
Um, so what's that? We're talking 420s, 430, 420s range for kilometer for the marathon. So
Okay.
she can run and she has the endurance. So a lot of the CrossFit world doesn't is intimidated by the length of a Hyrox, but it's definitely Christie's wheelhouse. Predictions, I think, man, she's definitely capable of 103, 102.
So it's a 4:23 pace. So you pretty good math. Well done. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. You're off by 3 seconds. I think that deserves kudos. Um, yeah, I think she's gonna do really well.
Mhm.
I always had her and Emily Rolfe as ones that I wanted to see
Mm.
do a high rocks. And I think of the high rocks people that would go in there, and I don't know if we can count Michaela in this, because Michaela being a CrossFitter, but has always been a teams
Yeah.
CrossFit, very much
Yeah.
an endurance specialist, whereas
Mhm.
Christy is a solo games athlete, right? So,
Yeah.
but I think she will do better than oh
Sam
my God.
Briggs.
Oh yeah, well, and Sam Briggs did good, but she was on the treadmill, right? So that did make it difficult. No,
Yeah.
I was thinking of the guy, oh my God, who I just forgot about his name, who did it in Australia, Ricky Gerard. Ricky
Mm.
Gerard.
Hmm.
Isn't Ricky Gerard the comedian guy? Ricky Gervais. That's it. So he's Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Sorry, you wouldn't know that. I apologize. Forget about Bethany's realm of knowledge out of her wheelhouse. Yeah, so Ricky
Yeah.
Gerard, he did well as well, but I expect that she will comparatively do better.
Yeah.
And I think
Mhm.
if she wanted, she could become a real player.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's the question. No matter how she does, it's good for or good for High Rocks.
Yes. Uh,
I guess that's a statement, not a question, but I'll explain my thoughts. Because if she does great, well, that brings her into High Rocks. That maybe opens the door for other CrossFitters who say, "Hey, maybe this isn't so. Maybe we will enjoy this. Maybe Christie's do. Maybe we'll do good." And it brings more attention. And if she doesn't do great right away, that just proves what a tough challenge it is, and that the athletes who are doing great are legit awesome athletes. So it's a win-win.
yeah. And I mean, Chrissy is a professional athlete too, where I think she's going to prepare herself appropriately. And she'll do Sims and I think
Oh
she'll
yeah.
be ready. So I don't think necessarily her not doing well, and well is an extremely relative term,
Mhm.
um, would be not as good for like the CrossFit community to look at. But her whole experience will speak volumes. So hopefully she enjoys the experience of Hyrox. But Hyrox puts on such a good event. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Provided they put on their regular. And here's the only thing: there's only one thing that can go south is if the judging is shit.
Mhm.
That could put a bit of a wrinkle in it,
If
especially
someone right beside her is doing terrible wall balls and they don't get called on it,
especially if it's straight on a video right there. Oh,
yeah,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
see that could be the thing that sours it. So judges, Houston, be on your game.
Yeah.
Good. Do good. Um, Judging things at speeds hard, very hard to do. So it's difficult, and I'll talk a
Mhm.
bit about that later. But I did forget one thing about the track and field, new 1,000-meter Canadian record
Yes. Marco
by
Arop,
Marco Airrelax. Yeah, 24 2 minute 14:74.
2:14.
I mean, that's
A kilometer. He ran a kilometer and two. Okay, so Jeff
what's
and I
your
were
best
talking.
kilometer? What's your best kilometer? Do you know?
Well, I never raced the thousand. So the thousand is very much an
Yeah.
indoor track race. So 200-meter track. Let me think. So I could split through maybe a 250.
Okay.
So I'm talking about my best, like when
Yeah.
I was in university and
I
I was a legit runner.
I don't think I've ever broke 320.
Hmm.
Okay, I've never run a kilometer, but just
Yeah.
when I think back and looking at my numbers, I don't think I've ever seen anything under a 320.
Well, when I used to race the 3000, my splits were 315s.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I
Yeah.
figured yours would be faster than mine. I'd anticipated.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
so we were talking though, imagine he was your partner for the DEKAfit
nice.
and you like you just have to run. So how fast so he has to do the first and the last 500 with you. So okay, he can jog those.
Yeah.
But the other ones, like he could be running like just over a minute for 500.
So here's the thing. Could me and Marco podium at Worlds in Elite? I'm putting out the invitation here, Marco. This is the
Well,
invitation.
no, I've already thought about messaging him for me.
You already
I'll race it.
have you already have
No,
your
but if
wins.
no, I'm just kidding. I can't cheat on Heather. Heather, you're always my girl.
And you guys might, okay, here's the thing. If you guys race together, right? You'd be flying out this monstrous lead, and then you'd get to the bike and you'd both just look at it and go, fuck that. I'm out
Be
of
like,
here.
you take it. No, you take
I'm
it.
out
You
of
take
here. No
it.
way.
Yeah.
No, it is an interesting thought and to
Yeah.
think, what kind of speed he would produce.
So
Um,
so interesting. We did talk about this actually. And we ran the splits. So if Marco, because so really he only gets to do 4K of the 5K.
right.
So the other ones, even so, let's say, and I'm doing a 145, and then we have a strong person. So split up, even if the strong person is doing like a 9-10 minute strong,
Yeah.
you're still running about a 24-minute deck fit, even with Marco, which again, Dave Megida and
Eric.
who's Eric were 24 something
Yeah. So
because they split the runs.
so
So
what is
again, you could bring in, and so Marco's time was actually the second fastest in the world. So it was a Canadian record, but it's also the second fastest in the world. So you
but
can
the
bring in a
fastest is
ringer.
only 1 second faster. So I mean it's not going to make that much
Okay, yeah, yeah.
difference.
But again, you can bring in a ringer, but there's still so much more of the race that's not just that one thing. So you can bring in Marco Arop and a 10-minute strong person, and it's still going to be pretty close with Dave Megida and Eric.
And at some point Megita is going to rub him off. Like he's going to bump him. He's going to hit him. He's going to make sure that he knows he's there at some point.
Well, Marco is an indoor track runner, so he's used to that too.
All right, yeah.
Mhm.
Megita's like a 200-pound guy.
Marco's not small.
No, I was impressed when I saw the video there. I'm like, hey, he does not look like your frail sprinter or your frail
No,
endurance
no.
runner. He's got some size to him.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's interesting though, and it is cool to see like when you run the numbers that it's not just like, oh, well, you bring this guy in, they're going to win instantly. No, not really. It's
no.
a delicate balance and a tricky thing, and guys like David and Eric are dialed in. And they have a system and it's working really well. And yeah, I mean, if I think if as the race maybe if it got longer and longer, it might help the runner more. But right now, the way the running is set up in it, it would be close. It'd be close.
Well, and because you can split the runs.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting if we put him and Kevin Gregory against David and Eric.
But Kevin still has to
He
run a
has to run
kilometer.
those two. But Kev can put out that first 500 pretty mean.
I know he can, but
That last one, maybe not as much. Still good,
mhm,
but not as much. But again, it would be an interesting race.
it would be.
So we'll see. We'll see. All right.
Speaking of world records,
You're excited with that now? World records. How do you
oh,
start this one?
well, do we have, we don't yet. All I'm saying to say about world records is with these gym events, can we please just encourage videos? If you have someone coming up who is they're going to smash it, maybe they're new, maybe they've been training for Hyrox for a while and they decide to do a Deka mile team or whatever on their own, just get some video because if they happen to set a world record, it would really help if there was video evidence.
Yeah, and we'll be straight out. So recently, a couple of guys in the UK, they set the world record for the Deka mile relay. 13:42, I believe is the number, which is substantially faster than Ryland Shadag and oh my God, who was his partner? Was it Brian Neely? Brian Neely? No, no. Anyway, anyway, substantially faster. I think probably 30, 40 seconds faster. And it leads to an immediate question. I will say I questioned it immediately and messaged and everything. And I obviously got under the skin of these guys. That was not my intent. My intent was to try to find out if there was a mistake or not, because when I see that number from someone I don't know and someone who's not been in the community and someone whose previous numbers are nowhere near that, my immediate assumption is to see if there was something wrong. And I'm be straight out honest, if it was me and Jeff who running the DEKAfit, who we've done fine, we've done well. But
Mhm.
let's say we all of a sudden put up a time that is beating the world record in 4 minutes faster than what we may even have to go more than 4 minutes. But it was that
Yeah.
much faster than our previous times. I would expect people to be suspicious. I would expect people to want to see a video and see proof.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because that's
Just verify.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's out of the norm. And I mean, we've said this before. This is where these gym events they need more um symmetry, need more, what's the word I'm
Yeah,
looking for?
just some like standards as far as like verification.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, some standards. And you know, I don't I don't see it. I don't get it. And maybe that's wrong of me to say, I demand proof of this, but I do. And the thing that bothers me is that I don't know how many teams are going to Worlds this year. 15, 12, 20, whatever. But somebody who really deserves to go might miss out because of this.
Hmm.
And that bothers me because I'm a guy who might be at that end, right?
Yeah.
On that part of it, that might I might be the guy that misses out because of this. Not because I'm a world record holder, but because I'm on that bubble.
Hmm.
And that sucks
Yeah.
if
So
it's not
Grayson,
fair.
Kilgore, sorry, and
Grayson.
Ryland have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we all know Grayson is a
Yeah.
beast. Sorry, I apologize, Grayson. I shouldn't have forgotten your name.
Hmm.
Yeah, so those two guys, like you're talking top of the mark guys. So, and when you break down the numbers of what it takes to run a 13:42 in a Deka mile relay, it is astronomically fast.
Yeah.
And for precedence, and like I said, these gentlemen's previous time was a 17:48.
Hmm.
So in a one race jump to go from a 17:48 to a 13:42 is a bit much. And again, I apologize, guys. I didn't mean to upset you. That was not my intent. I didn't mean to insult you. It's not my intent. Uh, it was my result. It was not my intent. And I apologize for that. That was completely not what I was after. And I do hope to see them come to Worlds. I don't believe they are, but I would love to see them come to Worlds and run,
Hmm.
especially if it is legit, because I want to see more badasses out there, right?
Hmm.
So is what it is. So if you are at all at a gym and you're running and you're at all fast, for God's sakes, videotape it.
Hmm.
And you know what? Even even if you're not, videotape it anyway, so you can go back and review and get your splits and get everything else and do all that
Yeah.
stuff. I get every run I do on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rye's right. It is one of the best training tools going to be
Hmm.
able to pluck your splits and see. Like we'll jump right into. We had the FarmGirl Deka not last weekend, but the weekend before, and Ryan and I did the strong relay together, and we've already broke down and we've completely changed our tank strategy because of doing our splits and the numbers and on what will be, and we've changed things, and it going into it we changed something and that helped us, and now
Hmm.
we're going to change something for our next race and that should help us more. So excellent tool. So video, always video,
Hmm.
and Deka, keep that leaderboard square. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a pet peeve. It does bother me. It does bother me. So,
Yeah. Well, I
but
mean, like we're talking world records, we're calling them. And to have
mhm.
zero verification, just, you get a submission and it's m a significant amount of time off of a world record and there's zero verification
And I want to
process.
be clear. I don't think these guys cheated.
No.
I don't think so at all. I think they went there and they ran their asses off. I, if you ask me what happened, is I think there was a judging error in the clock timing.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's simple human error mistake that could happen to anybody. So I don't blame anyone. I don't think this anyone cheated. I don't think anyone's doing anything untoward. I don't think anyone had any bad plans or anything like that. It's just I think it's just a mistake. And you know what? If they go out and run another one or they go to Worlds and kick ass and I'm proven wrong, I will be the first one to say, I am so sorry. You're right. You guys are awesome. And I'm glad you are. And I'm glad I was wrong. I have
Mm.
no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
But learn lesson, video everything,
Mhm.
and be careful not to upset people.
Keep it to yourself. Mm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we want to talk about the Farm Girl Deka because that happened and stuff. Um, but before we go into like the actual event and stuff and my experience, I want to talk about my experience judging and lessons I learned. The first one is full extension burpees at speed are damn hard to judge. And I thought they would be. And it was one of the reasons in the beginning when I said I wasn't sure if I liked the full extension. I'm actually coming around to liking it, but I'm also thinking that it will take time for the judges to get onto it because it is a fast full extension.
Mhm.
And I actually watched my own. So Jeff had pointed out to me that he saw some of the ones I judged, and he goes, "I don't think these went to full extension," and he was absolutely right. When we slow mode it down and watched it, he's absolutely right. And then I went and rewatched my own, and I would say probably 80% were good, but then, well, so 16, maybe four were iffy.
Mhm.
And but it's so fast that you really have to be on top. So judges, when you get to those burpees, be on top of it. Be ready, be prepared. Because not only do you gotta watch it quick, but you gotta call that no rep quick because it all happens very, very fast, especially in the
Mhm.
relay.
Or if it's getting iffy, to just say like a little, like just push it up there or something, because I
Yeah.
think there's a degradation when it comes to fatigue with the RAM burpees too, where if the one is iffy, the next one is probably going to be worse.
Yeah.
So, call it early.
And you're definitely seeing it on the last three. The last
Yeah.
three seem to really be when everybody's giving everything they got, seem to be the ones where they really Riley's were perfect. Every one of them. Just each one was slightly better than the one before. Anyway, so yeah, so I learned that the lunges, not much difference.
Yeah.
Really, like unless you had seen people who were really egregious with it before, for us it was not much different. I
Yeah.
didn't
I
I
wouldn't
didn't
think so.
see hardly any difference.
It's early too, right? Like,
Mm,
especially in the strong, because there wasn't even a run
no,
before.
no. So that was good. However, the biggest difference maker was the no row and go on the tank. That made a
Mhm.
huge difference. And it did cause a little bit of calamity with people trying to, on the co-ed relays, trying to run out and switch each other's settings before they got back and kind of thing, which
Mhm.
you need to wait until your partner crosses the line. Then you can go out and switch it and such like that. So only one person in that 10-meter zone at a time. And I actually did hand out it was fairly arbitrary penalty for that because it's one of those you're like, okay, they've done that. They've saved a half a second. Do you make them do the whole there and back again, which can cost 20 seconds? Because there's not really anything labeled there what to do for the judge in that scenario.
Hmm. Maybe that's something to discuss then.
Yeah, exactly. And it probably should have came up before, but
Yeah.
it has not. So I hit him with a 5 second penalty,
Hmm.
which probably was about what it's not in the rules. I made it up.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Um, but you know,
That's fair.
yeah, it had to be something, right? It had to be something, and you know, I think for like jumping across that line, it's not worth making him redo a there and back for a 20-second penalty.
Yeah.
Especially, and I said this to them too as well, that it could have been a lot harsher, but this is the first race under new rules. Things are all changing, so we were, and even with the burpees, I think maybe that's why sometimes they weren't as demanding or as hard as they should be. Um, so yeah, so I learned that. We learned a lot on that, and I pride myself on my judging, and I definitely took a bit of humble pie that day, and we'll be even better next time. Um, the other thing I learned, and this is about my judging too, is I am a very big cheerleader. I like to push. I like to push. I want people to do their absolute best. And I've run into this problem before, and I've told my wife many times, this is the character flaw I have that I've often had to work on, is just because I can help doesn't mean people want it. And some people love that I get screaming at them and get pushing and get going harder and it really, really drive them. Some people absolutely love it. I get people posting online quite often. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I get kudos. But I get other people who I terrify and I upset and I push too hard and do not like it. And for that, I absolutely apologize. That is 100% on me. And I need to do a better job when I see people at the beginning of assessing what they want and realizing that sometimes I need to just shut the fuck up and count.
Uh,
So again, that's on me, and I apologize to anyone who I go too far with. And if you do get me for a judge, and you know I'm like that, just tell me beforehand, shut the fuck up and count. I will gladly say absolutely. I will probably still
uh,
cheer for you, but I will not scream at you. And definitively, also the other thing is, like I say, I will judge, not coach, and that's a fault of mine as well. See, I'm expressing all these
are
self-improvement.
you feeling better now?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do. Well, don't these things weigh on me big time? Like
I can tell. Yeah.
I was very mopey. It's like, uh, so
Yeah,
but I've always
it's
said,
tricky though because I mean, you want to get the best out of
hmm,
people, so you do it the best way that you know how. And it comes down to also like a what you have a coach athlete relationship and like you kind of learn what each of your athletes needs to perform their best and what they need from you as a coach, but so when you're judging, you don't always know these people. So some people just want to hear nothing. Like, and they don't want you to yell at them because it just makes them angry.
yep,
And yeah, so it's tricky.
it is, and I mean, and because I get like so many positive results, like the young lad
Yeah.
at your gym who has thanked me a bunch of times, and I like tear up when I read his messages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then at the same event there, I had someone say, "Please don't yell at me." I'm like,
Well, and I've had some of my female clients who are like, I don't want Dave, he's scary.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
other people are like, he changed my life.
I'm like, and so like I said, I need to do a better job of recognizing who wants that, who doesn't, and that's
Yeah.
on me. But if you know me and if you get me and you really just want me to count and just cheer for you, please tell me. I will not be offended. I'll be happy to do so. And it's me that is needs to adapt to you, not the other way around. So that's it. All that I put that out there. It was a great event. We have one lane and we had 81 entries and 29 of them were teams. So we put like more than 100 people through there. And it was really well done. There were some really good times. We had, especially on the women's side, we had Chelsea Grant there, and she threw down. She did two relays as well, so she's really good. Um, she's on her way to doing real damage at this year with Worlds, and I
Yeah,
do not expect her to be an age group this year.
I don't either.
No,
Yeah,
it's so fast and powerful,
yeah.
you know.
And very focused right now on it.
She is, and just her and Mike, great people, love them
Yeah.
both, fantastic. So good to have there. On the upside too, from our own perspective, we had more of our local gym goers at this event than we've ever had,
Mhm.
and that was good. A lot of people taking on a lot of things they were scared of and putting in PRs and good times and having a blast. And like anything, the relays were the story. The relays were always so much fun,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
including ours. Ryan and I had a good relay. We this was our first official relay. We'd only done sim before, and we did an 11:22. So
Mhm.
for age group, that puts us in a good category for age group. And I think we think we can go sub 11. We think we can get down there,
Mhm.
with some new tweaks and whatnot. But yeah, you guys were missed though.
Yeah, it's a busy time for us.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. And you can't do that. You can't get to all of them. Even if
Yeah.
it's not a busy time, it doesn't matter. You can't get to all of them. Sometimes you need to just be home.
Yeah.
Like it happens.
Well, and I am very intentionally taking a racing break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
You need to.
Even from all of it.
Yeah. Like I said, you need to do that stuff
Yeah.
or you burn out,
Yeah.
you know? And like you said, when you're combining it with your work, your family, your everything,
Hmm.
it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it was a great event. We do thank all the people who helped out, all the great volunteers. One of the biggest ones that I was most proud of was our girl Rose Brown. You remember Rose?
Yeah.
So Rose did a solo and she PR'd by 5 minutes.
Wow.
So I was like, holy smokes. That was
Wow.
just fantastic. So that was one
Hmm.
of our highlights for sure, was Rose. And she also volunteered all day too. So
Hmm.
those are the
Wow.
people.
Good for her.
Those are the people that are building it.
Yeah.
It's really good. And my good friends John and our good friends John and Sue, although it's not on the leaderboard yet, they are sitting at the top of their age group for strong relay as well. So all sorts of fun stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Make sure you guys get to one of the local events, any local
Hmm.
event of any kind, any hybrid local event. Do
Yeah.
them all because they're a lot of fun and everybody's
Well,
good.
we have two coming up on the same
Yes.
date,
Yes.
unfortunately, but it was bound to happen at some point. So if you are in the London community area, we have one it used to be called Hybrid Fitness. Now it's called Team London Hybrid on March 23rd.
Hmm.
So that's the one I'm hosting. And then we have a mile and a strong um, hosted by Pure Impact. And they are also hosting offsite. So we got options coming up here.
And they're both going to be good events. So check them out. They'll both be a lot of fun. How's the layout for yours? Gonna be fast? Gonna be fast layout? Because I'm gonna do a solo, right? So I want a good time.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a perfect layout because this is such a big facility.
All right, all right, all right, good.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll PR, but I'd like to get under 13:30
Hmm.
just to keep my spot on the board, right? Just so that I'm like, okay, I'm qualified for sure. I'm good. I can relax, that kind
Yeah.
of thing, and then I can focus on relays until for
Yeah.
qualifying. So then,
Yeah. It's your one and done.
yeah, well, I'm actually at the top of the age group right now, but it's not a solid one. It might still be enough to qualify me, but we don't know how many people qualify, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I would like to get it up there a little bit. At least for this one, I'd like to get it close to where I was for last year's qualifier, and then same thing at the end. I'd like to really kick one down. By the time I go to Worlds, I would like to be sub 13. That's the goal. So by the time I go to Worlds to hit a sub 13, which means I have to shave 17 seconds off this from this year's. So this is a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. It's like big chunks at the beginning and then seconds later.
Well, I did on our relay. I had a PR for my row in competition and a PR for my bike in competition. So those are good signs. So I
Good.
went to one. Well, if you look on the rower, it said I did 131. If you watch like the video, it looks like about 132, 133, right? Because the rower takes to click in, right?
Yeah.
And then the bike was about 48. So
Mhm.
it's getting good, getting good. So we'll see. By the way, every machine is still different.
Yep.
Our tank feels ridiculously hard, and yet our bike feels a little bit easier.
I agree. Their
And
bike is the fastest bike I've ever done.
but it's an assault bike. Like it's not an off-brand.
Yeah.
It is the go-to brand, and the tank is the torque tank. Everything is spec. It just
Mhm.
they're different from place to place. They are. They really are. I will never be convinced that they're all exactly the same.
No,
So
no.
this one's this. All right. I think that's all I got. You got anything? You good?
That's all I got.
All right.
We talked enough, I think.
Get us the hell out of here.
Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. And our racing season is on the upswing. So we hope to see a lot of you out racing. We're in that hybrid phase right now because it's still winter. So we'll see you out soon. Everyone, keep crushing it. And thanks so much for listening.
And we will have code for Spartans and Dekas actually posted on this.
Yes, I will post my code.
Take care.